the ridiculously sublime to the sublimely ridiculous. I'm going to tell one of my pointless tales, and which they're infamously pointless, and this one is probably the most pointless I've ever told. And it's called The Man Who Never Had a Dream. Harry the Weaver never had a dream in his life, and then one night he was staying with his friend the tanner's on his way to market, and his friend asked Harry if he'd like to have a dream, and Harry said he'd like that fine sure enough. So the tanner gave Harry a bag of sheep's tallow and 2 strips of sheepskin, told him to make a pillow of that, and he'd likely have a dream. Well, Harry made the pillow, laid his head on it, and fell asleep. The next thing he knew, he was waking up in the morning just as usual. Well, he got out of bed feeling a little bit disappointed. He tied the bag of tallow to his belt, wrapped the 2 strips of sheepskin round his hands, and set off for market a fine, brisk spring morning. He hadn't gone far when he met the son of the king of Clachmannan. "Good day to you, Harry," says the son of the king of Clachmannan. "Are those gloves you're wearing?" "No," says Harry, "they're just strips of sheepskin. I'm on my way to market." "Oh, Harry, but first you must carry out a task for me. You must take this letter from me to Davy Dalrymple, the Blade of Pittenweem." "Oh," says Harry, "but that'll make me late for market." "Oh, Harry, but you must." "Oh dear," says Harry, "if I must, I must." So saying, he takes the letter and sets off for Pittenweem as fast as his legs can carry him. The wrong direction for market altogether. Well, he hadn't gone far when he passed an old lady standing at her garden gate. She'd hardly taken a step in 20 years. "Good day to you, Harry," says she. "Are those gloves you're wearing?" "No," says Harry, "they're just strips of sheepskin. I was on my way to market, and then I met the son of the king of Clachmannan, and now I've got to take this letter to Pittenweem." "Oh, Harry, but first you must take me on your back and carry me down to Carlisle to buy a pound of their very special butter." "Oh," says Harry, "but that'll make me ever so late for market." "Oh, Harry, but you must." Oh dear, says Harry, "if I must, I must." And so saying, he hoiks the old lady onto his shoulder. Well, she wasn't very heavy. And off he sets down south as fast as his legs will carry him. And they go on and on until they cross the border into England and into Carlisle, where she duly buys her pound of special butter. And then it's back all the way to her garden gate, and he sets her down. Then he's off as fast as his legs will carry him to get to Pittenweem. Well, he hadn't gone far when he met the fox of Montrose. "Good day to you, Harry," says the fox of Montrose. Are those gloves you are wearing?" "No," says Harry. Well, he told him the whole story. "Oh, Harry, perhaps you're going into great danger. Perhaps that letter will tell the Blade of Pittenweem to cut your head off. You haven't read the letter, have you? You don't know what's in it. Oh, can you read?" "No," says Harry. "Oh, give the letter to me, and I'll read it for you." So Harry hands over the letter. But before the fox can read it, in the distance they suddenly hear the baying of hounds. The fox leaps up on a dry stone dyke and loops over the land. "Oh, Harry, that's the Duke of Buccleuch's hounds. I've taken some of his hens. They're after me right enough." And off he dashes, running north. "Give me back my letter," cries Harry. "Not until I've read it," says the fox. And with Harry pelting after him, and the fox can't quite run fast enough to get away, but Harry can't run fast enough to catch up with him. And so they go on that way for quite a while until they come near to Inverness, and the fox dashes down a foxhole. Well, Harry's about to scramble after him, and suddenly he remembers that he knows of this man who lives in Paisley, which is near Glasgow, and he has the 2 finest foxhounds in the country. So he turns around and he goes back down south to Paisley as fast as his legs will carry him to find this man and borrow the foxhounds. Well, he finds the man, and the man says, "Oh, aye, you can have the hounds, but first you must bring me a letter of recommendation from your parish priest." Poor Harry had to go all the way back to his village to find the parish priest and get a letter of recommendation. Then it's back to Paisley and hand over the letter and get the foxhounds. And then it's up north as fast as their legs will carry them to get to Inverness. And when they get there, the dogs dash down the foxhole with Harry scrambling after them. Well, when the fox saw them, he started to run. And they ran and they ran and they ran until they came out in Ireland. But luckily, the fox, trying to get away through a thorn hedge, dropped the letter. And Harry was able to recover it. Well, then it was back all the way through the foxhole till they came out near Inverness, and then all the way down to Paisley to return the 2 dogs. And then it was again off as fast as his legs would carry him to get up to Pittenweem. And when he gets to Pittenweem, he finds Davy Dalrymple, the blade of Pittenweem, and he hands over the letter, very trepidatious-like, you know. In fact, if you wanted to know what trepidatiousness looked like, you'd only have to look at Harry, and there it was. But all that Davy Dalrymple said was, "Oh, thanks a lot, Harry, very kind of you to put yourself out like that. And by the way, are those gloves?" But he didn't get a chance to finish his question because Harry was already on his way. You see, he still thought that just maybe he might have a chance to get into the tail end of the market. So he was taking a shortcut down a steep ravine between 2 high hills when he met a shepherd, and the shepherd says, "What are you doing here, Harry?" "Oh," says Harry, "I'm taking a shortcut. I'm going to be ever so late for market." "Oh, and you're going to be drowned too. There's a great flood comes down here once every 7 years. I think I hear it coming now." And he disappears. Well, Harry starts to run, but the water's around his ankles, and then it's around his knees, then it's around his waist. He climbs up on a high rock, but the water is still rising. And just when he thinks all is lost, he sees a great eagle flying overhead. He says, "Save me, save me." "Give me that bag of tallow and I will save you." "Yes, take it, take it." So down swoops the eagle and lets Harry clamber onto his back. And then it's up into the air they fly. But after a couple of minutes, the eagle says, "Oh, Harry, you're heavy, Harry. Off you go now, off you go." "But I'll fall," cries Harry, clinging on as best he can. "I'll scrape you off against the roof of the sky," says the eagle, and so saying flies up and tries to scrape Harry off against the roof of the sky, and Harry is hollering and clinging and clinging and hollering. Well, up in heaven there are 2 gentlemen sitting there, and one of them says to the other, "What's that terrible noise?" And the other one looks down and says, "It's just Harry the Weaver. He's clinging to the back of an eagle." "Oh, poke him off with your stick, for goodness sake. We'll never get any peace in heaven." So the man reaches through with his stick and starts to poke at Harry until Harry is dislodged. And he starts to fall, and he falls, and he falls, and he falls, and he wakes up and finds himself clinging to the doorpost of the tanner's house. And that was enough dreaming for Harry. And that's